Welcome back. Absa Group has finalised the details of a new broad-based Black Economic Empowerment B-BBEE transaction to be implemented later this year, subject to shareholder approval. The transaction will strengthen Absa's B-BBEE credentials in South Africa while also providing communities as well as staff with an opportunity to benefit from the value generated by the group. Shareholders voted on the transaction at a general meeting on Friday. For more on this, we are now joined by Miyelani Mkhabela, Chief Economist at Antswisa Transaction Advisory, and he joins us via our Zoom link. Miyelani, thank you so much for joining us here on the late edition. Certainly, it sounds as if this is a very, something that a number of people, especially employees and those from disadvantaged backgrounds, will be able to benefit from. What does this all mean, especially for Absa employees?
I think this real broad-based transaction, looking at it covering communities through the corporate social investment trust that will be getting 4%, and then the employee or the staff trust that will be getting 3%. So in that 7% that cost 10 billion in rands, I believe that this is one of the strategic transactions that will really broad-basedly benefit the people, as well to award staff. I mean, like when you look at Absa, before Barclays take over 2005, so Absa employees used to have such similar benefits where they could probably get dividends twice a year, and when Barclays take over, such got to be terminated or stopped altogether. I think some of the employees that were there then that are still with the brand probably will remember that, and they will be glad with the transaction, as really has the vision that Absa had in prior to 2005.
And I hear you speaking about these employees. You know, when it comes to the employees of Absa, who will benefit from this latest move?
The permanent employees will benefit. So the broad staff trust will benefit employees, which are permanent employees specifically. And in terms of them getting their full coupons of shares, that can probably maybe take around maybe 3 to 5 years, depending on the structure that they will create for employees to completely be awarded with those like shares. But in a time-to-time basis, employees and the communities will be benefiting every time when the dividends are issued.
And maybe perhaps let's take a step back, Miyelani. You know, what led to this decision? Some have even labeled it as a landmark transaction, especially for Absa. What led to this point?
So in terms of the financial sector, like charter, Absa was not qualifying with the stake for BBEE that it was there before. But this deal, it being a landmark and one of the broad ones, it then takes such a limitation that was there to above 25% of the broad-based Black economic empowerment, of which that it is in line with what is expected from the bank and its compliance, I mean, with the charter and the DTI codes.
And, you know, when it comes to employees benefiting and members of the public, you know, when can they start buying these shares?
The shares are allocated to the trust. So the corporate social investment trust, it will then be going to the communities, and the staff trust as well will be going to like the employees. So in terms of how like the deal is structured, I might not really get to see anything if I look at the transaction broadly as to how like the process of maybe buying these shares will unfold. But what we now know is the CSI trust has 4% and the staff trust has 3%. But the employees, even though employees will not be expected probably to be buying the shares, even if probably there are some of the principles that can be communicated like later. With regard to the CSI trust, I might not know how like they are going to structure such to benefit communities.
And overall, Miyelani, this step, I'm sure it looks like a step in the right direction, especially for those who were previously disadvantaged, and for those employees we see within Absa. What do you make of this decision?
I think the board has looked at some of the principles of a broad-based black economic empowerment and really aligned with something that it's done differently. It wouldn't really have benefited society or the staff and the communities to this level. And I think this can be as well a lesson or a scenario that other listed companies can probably use as well, even if in terms of the CSI trust and the staff trust, even if it can be increased, because giving the shares to 1 or 5 people and giving the shares to a broad community, I think I prefer a model that gives the staff a trust and the CSI trust, because then you get a majority of the people benefiting. And it starts to relate with the principle of it being broad-based, because it's not only 5 directors that are disadvantaged, but it is the majority of South African people that are disadvantaged. So this scheme happens to be one of the scenarios that we like it to be emphasized, and more of the people that are probably planning other schemes or investment schemes look at this model, and even if it can probably go to 15% of CSI and staff trust, that could be really attractive and have a smaller percentage to directors %.
All right, Miyelani Mkhabela, thank you so much for your time here on SABC News. That is Miyelani Mkhabela, Chief Economist at Antswisa Transaction Advice.